Today, we got the full reveal of Black Ops Cold War, the next coming title in the Call of Duty franchise, launching on November 13th this year, and I couldn't be more excited. But while that happened, and we'll be talking a ton about it in the coming days to weeks regarding the game, last week, content creators and press were invited to a remote conference call under NDA until today to learn a little more about the game in depth, talking design philosophy, universe and character lore, mission intel, tech under the hood, and much, much more. Most of, if not all of that, was omitted from today's reveal, so I wanted to take some time today and talk about 18 things or so that the reveal of Black Ops Cold War didn't tell you about the game. Before we begin, a thanks to Activision, Raven, and Treyarch for inviting me to hear a little bit more about what they have on offer this year and allowing me to bring you guys this information. But as we go along, what are your thoughts on this? What are you looking forward to the most this year? What is the one or two standout items of this discussion that really grab you and pull you in? And as well, drop a like down below if you're hyped for the new game, and if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing relating to Black Ops Cold War as we enter into some exciting times. But let's get into it. First things first, number one up on deck here is that from the indications that we had the conversations in this conference call, seems like Raven is taking point at least on campaign here at this. We know that Treyarch and Raven are the two listed developers for all the promotional material and everything we've seen so far, but after the reports last year about Treyarch coming in and taking over COD 2020 and Black Ops Cold War, we kind of just assumed that maybe Treyarch would be leading the whole thing. But it seems like this storyline, this campaign, is somewhat Raven's baby, and that multiplayer aspects look to fall towards Treyarch. That's something that we'll of course learn more about here as time progresses. We learn more and more as multiplayer information becomes readily available. But talking about things that we saw, and this may be something that you actually saw in the regular reveal trailer, was that footage that we saw was captured on PlayStation 5, pointing to some great visuals, of course, and what the power of the PS5 has, but also what's likely the continuation of the licensing agreements between Sony and Activision. As for storyline, this was a direct sequel to Black Ops 1 that was leaked within the last 24 to 36 hours or so with the Season 5 Reloaded update in Modern Warfare, but that actually is true. Now, does this rewrite the history of Black Ops 2 and following games? According to Dan Vondrak from Raven, not at all. They strategically took this time frame before the flashbacks to 1986 of Black Ops 2 and created a narrative that would follow the events of Black Ops 1, but also then would tie in and even connect directly to Black Ops 2 and the other events to follow in the Black Ops universe storyline after that. So this just seemingly adds to the story and the narrative of the Black Ops universe and isn't anything that detracts from anything else. It's not a soft reboot like previously thought, and it's not a soft reboot like we saw with Modern Warfare. Dan Bunting from Treyarch also mentioned that multiplayer will have storyline elements as well, continuing the recent introductions that we saw in, say, Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 to grow that universal lore outside of just the campaign and that linear storyline. The story itself is set in the 1980s, set at the height of the Cold War. We end up seeing there's the returning cast of Woods, Mason, Hudson, but also new cast and crew. The returning cast of characters has been recast with new voice actors, so unfortunately, James C. Burns and Sam Worthington aren't your Mason and Woods here, but instead those were recast just how we saw, say, Barry Sloan introduced as Captain Price, whereas it was previously Billy Murray. There's a lot of speculation on who the main character really is within Black Ops Cold War, with many just assuming it's going to be either Woods, Mason, or Hudson, since they're such fan favorites in the Black Ops lore and what we've seen so far. But from what we were told, the main character is actually a new one named Russell Adler, the black box of the CIA, if you will, the guy that is the one that's called in to do the dirtiest of missions, get all the information that no one else could be able to do, but you end up also playing as your own character. So you're not really playing as Adler, he's just that main focus and main focal point here of this. But players can actually create their own characters with many levels of customization, from gender to skin tone to military background like CIA, MI6, ex-KGB, to even psychological profiles including classified, paranoid, violent tendencies, lone wolf, professional, fearless, and many others. Now the cool thing is these attributes that the players pick for their character actually affect their in-game statistics and how the gameplay reacts to them in some capacity, which to me is pretty cool, bringing this sort of RPG level of customization into the classic arcade shooter that Call of Duty normally is. For example, paranoid as a psychological profile increases ADS time by 50%, having the time you do it, so you ADS a little quicker because you're paranoid, you're ready to be gun up for everything else. Violent tendencies increases that bullet damage and output from your weapon by 25%. Lone Wolf increases your sprint time by 100%. Professional gave you full movement speed when ADS, sort of like Stalker in previous games. And while not specified, I would imagine that this is some sort of story development that we see that these can maybe progress, you can maybe pick up more and more as time goes on in the campaign. But also the biggest factor is that these seem to be campaign only. So you're not going to be seeing this stuff happen in multiplayer later on down the line. At least it wasn't specified, but I can't imagine they actually do that. We've seen this sort of stuff also happen in other campaigns. Black Ops 3 is the big one that came to my mind whenever I think about this, because there were so many things that were in that campaign as sort of abilities for your character, but never made it over into MP. So wouldn't worry about that too much here. But one interesting part is that your character, from what we were told, also won't really have any voice. They'll have a silent dialogue, meaning that they won't have that specific voice, but they can still communicate with the game itself. That in part could be due to just the sheer amount of customization and having to build out so many different variations of that, but also further developmental reasoning listed by those devs. The campaign itself will have various elements of choices that players can make, bringing up dialogue boxes that you can choose different outcomes of what will happen in certain engagements, which to me again is pretty cool, bringing in RPG elements in a game that traditionally doesn't have anything outside of a more linear story progression. So I'm pretty excited to see what these can introduce, but also adding on top of that, side missions were confirmed here at this and will be included within Black Ops Cold War. Something called evidence can be found within these different missions, and this evidence unlocks some of these side missions through the main missions. Now, the cool thing is, again, is that there is some choice of their own with these. They don't need to happen, or you don't need to play these side missions, one, at all, or two, you don't need to do it in a linear fashion, because you can gain more evidence and play these side missions back then after that, or you can find the evidence and do those missions right away. So again, offering up a little bit more creative freedom to the player, which I think, again, is pretty awesome. This also means, though, and one of my favorite things, and probably my favorite thing to talk about in this video, is that there's going to be multiple endings to this game. That was confirmed. It's not just speculation that these side missions will have impact on the player's outcome. There's going to be multiple endings. They didn't specify how many, but similar to Black Ops 2, there will be, again, multiple with the overall campaign. I'm excited to see how many will come out of this. That was one of my favorite things about Black Ops 2 in particular, in the storyline that it offered up, that there was real weight to your decisions in the game. There was also no specification or certainty of the true canon ending. We talked about that a little bit in a Q&A, but we didn't get a solid answer. The way that it was described to us, it kind of seemed like they would all combine to be the canon ending, but again, with so little known at this point, we can't really give much meaning to that. So it could just be a roundabout way of saying, hey, play the game, or it could be some cryptic message. But multiple endings 100% coming, and I'm incredibly excited for that. From the campaign gameplay we saw that there were still linear objectives like you have in the past, even though there is that creative freedom, but those things like kill a specified AI or take out a watchtower guard at a specified time, getting closer to certain locations and following the main designated path for you, those things are still there, but again, that's just more so to progress the narrative. Now, during this conference, we did see a handful of different gameplay missions, just some smaller excerpts of them, but in that we ended up seeing a couple of different weapons that we can add to our list of what we know about. We ended up seeing the Krig S, the AK-47, the MP5, the RPD, the M16A1, which was full auto, the recurve bow, a literal bow and arrow, which looked to be in the context in a mission that you just had to make do with whatever weapon you had on offer, a War Machine launcher, the Pellington 763, the 1911, and then your fists returning as well. So that's a decent number of weapons to start with right out of the gate in terms of information and what we know about our arsenal that we'll have within this coming game. But of course, we'll see more coming as time progresses. As for mechanics that we ended up seeing in these gameplay levels and missions, we saw sliding return, we saw vehicle driving and some turret use, so that's going to be something that returns also. We saw a new tac map mechanic type of deal, where in a stealth level mission set inside the KGB headquarters, it allows you to see different areas and choose different ways to play the mission, which is almost entirely up to the player. You can go and explore while looking at where you need to go here with this map. So pretty cool, and again, adding to that level of customization and freedom of choice that the player will have in that sense. And also in one mission, there is level resetting in some narrative design to encounter multiple perspectives and encounters of the storyline in the same designated mission, which again will be kind of cool, kind of trippy in the same Black Ops sense, but something added in. Finally, I want to round out with some information talking about the engine information, because that was a big question here when Modern Warfare introduced such a big part to the presumed shared universes then of Call of Duty going forward, creating such a new engine that would have to be used on Warzone and elsewhere. The question of would it be the same engine of Modern Warfare was brought up, to which, again, we got a very roundabout answer that Treyarch has been working with and sharing design philosophy and tool sets with other developmental studios in the same architectural fashions for years in the past now. But they also stated they started building the tech that they're using for today in this game multiple years and multiple games ago. The big key focal point shining the spotlight right on referenced Black Ops 3. So they didn't give us a definitive yes or no answer that this same engine is Modern Warfare, but it may look to be something that is modified off of that, but not utilizing it exclusively. So that's something that, again, time will tell here with this, but we're going to be seeing more and more information, of course, come out about Black Ops Cold War in the future. But I want to talk to you guys about all this stuff here today and let you know everything you need to, and some stuff that wasn't detailed to you today in the overall reveal. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you liking anything you hear out of this in particular? Maybe not so much. What's the big key standout parts to you? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War, Modern Warfare, Warzone, everything on a daily basis. We'll keep you up to date with everything you need to know. But if you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Corrective on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.